To the August 6, 2019 Public Works and Planning Committee meeting. Welcome everybody back from our August hiatus. At this time, if you still have good memory recognition, Vice Chairman, I would like for you to review and approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I have looked over the minutes, Chairman Cush, and found it all to be in order and move for their approval.
All right, we have a motion and we need a second.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. I am going to execute chairman's privilege here and rearrange the agenda just slightly to accommodate some folks that have just a small amount of county business to do. So I am going to call on the Highway Department to give their abbreviated report. Hello, Phil.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
We have a speed limit request brought to the road board. Road board approved it. Sent it to the Sheriff's Department. This was their recommendation.
All right, this is, let's see. Yeah, it's multiple roads, right?
Correct. Yes, sir. Jackson Ridge, Rocky Lake, and Taylor, they're all connected. So we just kind of cleaned
Okay.
that up and got them all the same.
All right, so basically, the standard procedure here is just to post new signs.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Are they all going down? All the speed limits going down? Or are they all going
No,
up?
these presently wasn't posted.
Wasn't posted.
The day clear was. It is going down from 30 to 20.
I move for their approval.
All right, we need a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Do you have any other business?
No, sir, that'll do
You
it.
are dismissed.
Thank y'all. Have a good evening.
All right. All right. I'm going to jump back up to item number 2, the announcement of a formulation of new infrastructure funding subcommittee. This is a brainchild of mine that I submitted to steering last night in form of a resolution that will be presented to full commission next Thursday, which I hope will pass unanimously, or at least by majority. This is a proposal to put together a temporary select committee, or otherwise known as an ad hoc committee, of a few members from other county committees. My recommendation, and I believe the resolution will read something into the effect of a couple people from Planning Commission, a couple from Public Works, one from Budget, one from the Road Board, and then we will fill in with Doug DeMasi, our regional county planning bazaar, and then we will have some we're actually checking on the legality. Our county attorney is whether we have the authority to ask somebody from IDB to be on that. Nick's going to let us know before you print that resolution, but ultimately this is just going to be a think tank of folks that will do research on ways to fund infrastructure projects with financial means other than a property tax increase. And what we're going to do is we're going to test the bounds of state laws, see what we can get away with, and test the Powers Act, and perhaps if we run into a brick wall, do some lobbying with our folks in Nashville to see the light on why some of these need to be changed to give us power to do things other than tax the citizens with continued property taxes are only means to raise funds. So nothing but a think tank to pitch ideas that will take these ideas to Public Works and Planning and then to full commission. So it's a temporary committee. Once we do our research and due diligence, we'll present these ideas to those committees and go forth. So you'll hear this at next Thursday in full commission. So that's what that's about. And moving on, Mayor, you have, I think, 2 items, the GNRC and county, and then the regional bus service.
That's correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Item number 3 is the memo of agreement. It's between the county and the GNRC home grant, which I sit on the GNRC board, Greater Nashville Regional Council. And this is Rutherford County is moving into the next phase for the home grant process. And we need to approve the MOU with GNRC to provide a home inspector on behalf of Rutherford County for approved projects. Basically, Reba handles all that, our grant writer upstairs here. And so GNRC will help identify and give some funds for upgrading roofing, new AC air conditioners for some of these low-income homes. So this MOU will be providing a home inspector to go out on behalf of GNRC to make sure that the money's going to where it was requested.
So this person will have no ties with our current code department?
I believe...
Not typically in the past. No, it's an independent home inspector that does all two.
They've done them in the past with our coast department, but the last several years we're into this grant process, so
Okay. All right. So from this body, you just need a vote of approval or acceptance to continue with this grant application?
Yeah, to approve the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with GNRC.
Okay.
I'm not very familiar with this. The only string attached is the inspector,
Is the inspector, that's correct.
and the teeth that goes with that, as far as if they find cause on some of these structures.
Correct. And there's a list that evidently Reba puts together and submits, because she put on this, this was sent to Vicki back on July the 12th, and all chaos occurred. But I haven't seen that list of the homes. I would assume that she was referring to that we recommend for the inspector to go out before they get the funding.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
is the inspector not an employee of this operation, an independent inspector we contract,
That's correct, it's contracted.
and then the contract ceases at
Some point in time, whenever the funding of the grant runs out.
have we seen the MOU? Is it something?
I'm
I
sorry.
just didn't see, is the MOU published?
No, I haven't seen the MOU either. It's just a memorandum of understanding that we will allow that, from what I've been informed, that it would allow I guess if you want to not take any action and you want to see that, I'd be happy to get Reba to send that to you.
Is this, are you familiar with this
No.
occurred in previous years, and this is another, I just don't recall this in the past.
Well, I think they contracted with you all previously, right?
Typically, I think this home inspector actually goes out and evaluates the home to determine what repairs need to be done. We have done in the past inspections after the repairs have been done to verify that the repairs have meet code and that the funds are ready to be released. What this inspector does is he determines what repairs and stuff need to be performed, need to be done.
So is he paid under this grant, terms of this grant?
That's correct.
So financially,
We have no obligation.
we're not on the hook.
Yeah, we have no financial obligation.
Okay.
It's through as Reba said here, we're ready for the next phase of the home grant process.
Okay.
We just need to approve the MOU.
All right, so let me ask you a question. If he were to be injured on the job, does he carry his own, typically, Tim, you may know this, would he carry his own insurance?
I'm not absolutely sure,
As a-
but I would assume
as a
so.
self-
I would assume.
contractor?
Anybody
So the
hired.
county would not be,
A private home inspector does carry their own home insurance, or their own
Or he may file the exemption if he's a sole proprietor.
Sole
too.
proprietor, he could
Right.
sign the exemption for work comp and say that, you know, I'm on my own. I have health insurance.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Mr. Blair, you have knowledge of those types of contracts. Is that something that we want to make sure that that's clear in a document that?
If Nick and the mayor have looked it over and we don't have any financial obligation, and if...
I'll get a
yeah.
copy of it before I sign it, and make sure that Nick has approved it.
Yeah. But I just don't want anything to come back on the county if he's,
No, not at
if
all.
he's injured.
Yeah, if we'll just make sure he has either his own policy or file the exemption. Secretary of
Secretary of State.
So I'm comfortable with it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, good stuff. Any other questions or comments? And are we comfortable to vote on accepting the grant, or would we rather see the grant in writing first?
I'm comfortable making a motion to approve based on the mayor
Subject
and Nick approving
Approval?
it.
Okay.
And I can have a copy on everybody's, I'll get a copy of the MOU and have it on your desk before the night of the 15th.
Is that
So, any other
form of
questions?
motion?
That is a motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's a unanimous vote. All right, you want to?
You're wanting to accept the grant, approve the MOU and accept the grant contingent on the mayor's approval and county attorney approval?
The MOU with GNRC.
All right. Next item of business is the regional bus service contract.
Yes, sir, this is a renewal on the Relax and Ride, the R&R Regional Bus Service. It's annual contract for the 84X Murfreesboro Express, the 86X Smyrna Express, and the 96L Murfreesboro services. So this contract is between Rutherford County and the RTA for the fiscal year 20, July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. And it's our partner share that reflects the Rutherford County's partner share of $49,220. The route is, if you want, I don't have a copy of the route, but it's a process that this commission has been doing for quite some time. We pick up riders. Estimate for 2019 is $35,989. Cost per hour is $109.47. Daily cost of service is $3,445. So it picks up in those 3 different locations, picks people up and takes them to Nashville and back.
For what?
For what?
Yes.
Takes people to Nashville.
Anything they want?
Yeah, but it's usually go to work.
When was this implemented? When was this implemented? The first year we contributed? Does anybody recall?
It's been a while.
It's been going on since the 90s.
Yeah.
I remember John Hood talking about when he was still in the House of Representatives, he actually wrote it one day just to see what the ride was like, and he enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's part of the county's commitment to.
All the regional counties within the hub of the donut counties around Metro Nashville all participate. This is our fair share it's basically based on the ridership numbers of how they come up with the algorithm to determine how much we pay.
If it's the same bus, they pick up at the Kroger on Northfield and Broad.
I believe you're right.
And there's a
Correct.
crowd of people waiting on that bus in the morning. That's been running as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of the 80s, so I don't know if it was running back then, but
I think probably in the 90s, I think it started running, and it stops in Nashville. So we've got 3 locations that they pick up.
They pick up at the old Kroger and Lowry.
On Lowry, that's correct,
What was the ridership? You mentioned the number.
yeah. 35,989.
Annual?
That's correct for fiscal year 19.
That's a good job.
Yeah, that's, I'm glad to finally get a number. That's-
Now, that's the number of riders? Or is that a,
That's rider's estimate, including additional services, was 35,989. Well, yeah, it surprises people because if we didn't have it, then you put them onto the interstate trying to get to Nashville. It's already bad enough. I don't know if I-24, that 32-mile stretch could handle another 35,000 people.
Sure. All right. Again, we would need a motion to approve this contract, or continue the contract, I guess would be the right way to say that.
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve, we need a second.
Second.
And a second from Chanto. All those in favor?
Aye.
No, any opposed? Motion carries.
Is
Yes, sir.
is that a roll call vote? Is that,
It's just a
It's-
contract, it's going to budget.
thanks. Shouldn't question.
No, that's fine. You're welcome to do that at all times. All right. Let's see. We're going to move item 5 down to the landfill report. The item 6, the presentation from Fulcrum Bioenergy, has been scratched for this month. They are going to reschedule.
They called day before yesterday and requested the gentleman who was coming from Utah or Nevada, where he was coming from, they take garbage and turn it into fuel. I was going to make a presentation. They were recommended to come, and so I said, why not? I need to look at every possible way of getting rid of the garbage. But he had a kidney stone and had to cancel his flight. So
All right.
he's requested to come back, Mr. Chairman, for the next break.
We are going to push the landfill report down to the bottom. So on deck and ready would be Buildings Code. Tanya, that would be you. And then Doug and Mike, you will be after Tanya.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
I'm going to give you a quick recap of June's, just because we didn't meet last month. So in June was probably one of the busiest months that Building Codes has seen in at least 3, 4, 5 years. We issued 90 single-family dwellings in June for a total revenue collection of $131,930. as opposed to $87,000 the same month from the year before. We did a total of 1,681 inspections with 9,200 miles driven in the month of June. And just very quickly, total amount of permits for fiscal year 18-19 was up just very, very slightly from 17-18. It was up with 24 single-family dwelling permits in 18-19 versus 17-18. In July, we issued a total of 345 permits for the month. 56 of those were single-family dwellings, for a total revenue of $104,438. I'd also like to add that we just went over 1,000 on our electrical permits. I don't know whether you remember when we started doing these permits in December, we were issuing about 500 to 600 for the first couple of months. In May, we went up to about 800. June, we went up to 900, and July, we went over 1,000. So we are issuing some electrical permits.
Started what month?
We started in December. And we started out, well, that was the slowest period of the
So
year.
it's generating $28,000, $30,000.
Yeah.
Twice your anticipated
Yeah.
income.
Yeah.
A lot of swimming pools. Did you notice that? A lot of
I
people
did
building
it.
pools.
Well, that's this time of year too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So total miles driven was 9887 with 1,671 inspections in July. And if nobody has any questions, I'll go into development tax. Good. Development tax, we collected $477,750 in the month of July. And if you have no questions, then zoning enforcement, we had a total of 318 inspections in the month of July.
We need to, this is a side note, Becky, we need to approve all 6 of these.
You can just approve a report, and I've already said it was for June and July. You don't need to do it separate.
Okay,
Just
so we can do one
report.
approval. All right. Of these June and July reports, are there any questions from the committee for Tanya? Any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve these reports.
So moved.
And we need a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That's unanimous. Tanya, do you have any other news to report?
I don't.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
indulge me for just a second. You knew this was coming, didn't you? Could you very briefly explain the process for a neighbor who wants the neighbor's yard cut?
Well, first of all, the one that you're speaking of in particular was a vacant lot. So there is a difference between a vacant lot and an occupied lot. If a neighbor calls for tall grass on a lot that is currently occupied, we contact the homeowner and we have them cut it. We cannot go upon a piece of property that is occupied by a homeowner and cut it and then put a lien on the property. Vacant property is different. We can do that. However, in order to do that, we must, each time we do it, we must exhaust all attempts to contact the property owner. So every time a neighbor calls us and says the grass is too high, my house next door is vacant and the grass is 2 feet tall, we go out there, we attempt to contact the property owner, whether that be a mortgage company, an owner, or whomever. If we don't hear anything, we then notify maintenance department, and maintenance will go out and cut it for us. Maintenance invoices us, and we put a lien on the property. Building codes puts a lien on the property. However, legally, we cannot continue to cut that yard every week, per se, for the entire summer without each time making an attempt to contact the legal property owner of the property. So each lien that we place is a separate lien, and each lien needs to be supported by an attempt to contact the property owner. So we cannot, even if we go out and cut it one time, unfortunately, we can't just take it upon ourselves to cut it for the rest of the summer and assume that nobody's going to touch it. We have to wait on another complaint, wait until the grass gets higher and go through the process again.
So essentially, nothing happens unless you receive a complaint.
Correct.
And there are certain things you cannot do, such as stepping foot on the property.
Right.
If it's-
Legally, and that's based on law, not something the commission
That is correct.
put into place.
That is correct. Yes.
No, go ahead and finish it.
Well, I was going to say, we do, on vacant property only, we do have the authority to go in there and cut it, but we must exhaust all attempts to contact the property owner before we can do that.
Does the municipality have an ordinance opportunity that we as a county would not have?
They do.
Okay.
The municipalities do have local ordinances that are different from ours.
Okay.
So we have to follow state law. They do not. They get to follow their own ordinances.
But whether it's occupied, whether it has a structure, whether it's vacant land, it still has to be initiated
Yeah.
by a complaint.
Right.
It really doesn't matter if it has a structure on it or not.
Right, okay.
Property's property.
Yes, but if it's not in a subdivision, we cannot cut the entire property. We can only cut 25 feet from the right-of-way. If it's acreage, we can only come on there and cut the entire piece of property if it's in a subdivision.
You can't bail it?
Mr. Chairman, Tanya, before I got here, the previous commission had created the environmental court. So they cannot be cited to go on the environmental court.
Yes, they can. And if the property is currently occupied, that's what we do use the environmental court. We do, if we don't get any response from them from an initial contact, we would go out there and try and make contact with the homeowner first and foremost, before any letters go out. We go out and try to make personal contact with the homeowner and tell them who we are, why we're there, that we do have a tall weeds and grass ordinance in Rutherford County, and advise them to cut the yard. We're talking tall weeds here, right? Just only tall weeds, okay. So that we have a tall weed ordinance in Rutherford County, and we advise them to cut it. We give them a few days to get it cut. Some people, their lawnmower broke, or they've been out of town, or they've been sick, or, you know, there's multiple reasons why they haven't. So we try to find out why, and we try to give them time based on the reason they haven't cut their yard. If 10 days goes by and we haven't heard anything and no action, no progress has been taken, the yard hasn't been cut and no progress has been made, then that's when a legal letter goes out. That's when we give them legal notice that they've got 20 days to cut this before we cite them to court. If they haven't touched it, we haven't heard from them in 20 days, they get an automatic citation to environmental court.
So since the environmental court's been organized, how many times do we?
Tall weeds and grass, not very many. Most of our citations to environmental court are for more serious violations.
Okay.
They're usually open storage or something a little more serious than tall weeds and grass. Typically, we can usually resolve tall weeds and grass.
Yeah. Does your department go often to environmental court?
Yes, first Wednesday of every month. We've been averaging about 3 to 5 cases every month. Some of them have been lingering a little bit, some of them not so much.
How often, it sounds like you give somebody 30 days to rectify the complaint.
Yes, anywhere from...
Somewhere
yes,
around there.
Yes.
How often do you get to environmental court and the court gives them another 30 days?
Oh, every single time.
Okay.
It's automatic when they get to environmental court.
Meanwhile,
And this is on TV. Not everybody knows, but
meanwhile,
yes,
the neighbors are like, what?
yes,
why didn't the county
absolutely.
do
It's
anything?
very frustrating. Yes.
Because we're 2.5 months down the road.
Absolutely.
Or
Yeah.
that-
And
yeah.
sometimes they
Or
give
they have
them-
wild animals nesting in the tall weeds now and
Yes.
more
Snakes
havoc
coming
on the
in,
pets.
yeah.
Yeah.
Snakes and spiders.
Well, yeah, rodents and snakes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all
Absolutely.
great.
It's not a fun thing.
No. And sometimes they give them another 30 days and sometimes another.
Is Judge Eichhardt still
Yes.
the judge?
I don't know. But, I mean, I don't want to single her out. All the judges grant,
Absolutely.
30
This has
a
been
30-day.
from the beginning of
yeah.
I know
we've been
when you
taking
get
them to general
evicted
sessions.
from a home, that would be Judge Gillies' court, he is required by law to give you at least 10 days. That's when you're getting evicted from a home.
Yeah.
So you could walk into his court and you got 10 days to get out. Some of them, you know, some cases, he may give them a couple weeks or 3 weeks or a month, but I think it's odd, you're getting evicted from a home, you got 10 days to get out, but yet you've already been given 30 days by codes and now you get another 30
And
days.
the more serious ones, it's way more than 30 days. I mean, we've usually heard from them and we've worked with them and tried to get them, and we do progress inspections. Some of our cases that we get into court are after 6 months of working with them, 8 months. We've got several that are a couple of years old.
Are you required to give them the 30 days? Or can you pull the trigger in 10 days?
The 20-day letter that I send them is all I'm required to give them by law.
You're
If I-
required to give them
20 days by law, yes. But we usually getting that letter and a threat to get a citation to environmental court is enough to get them to give us a call and at least start some sort of dialogue and some sort of efforts into getting some stuff resolved. It's frustrating. It's a work in progress all the time.
Thank you, Tanya.
You're very welcome. You guys have a good night.
Doug? Sir. Did you give Mr. Hughes the evening off? Yes. You're a good man.
I have two items for your consideration tonight. The first is our subdivision inventory. You'll see that the one on your iPads is from June. There were some technical glitches getting July's data to you, so we'll get that to you next month when we update you with August's information as well. But you can see on the end of the first report, total available lots are up to 912. That's in comparison to last year at the same time where we're 673. Tanya was just talking about the number of permits that they issued was pretty high last month. Well, actually June, excuse me. We had a lot of subdivisions that were recorded. Just the major, what I would call major subdivisions, anything with 4 lots or greater. We had 3 larger ones be recorded, and that was over 110 lots. That doesn't include the little 1 and 2 lot deals here and there. So that kind of gives you an idea of why the numbers are still trending up. Even though we're issuing a lot of permits, they're also recording a lot of plats, which we knew was going to happen. We had so much in the system, it was only a matter of time before we started seeing that. So just to show you that things are moving, but we have quite a bit of lots out there versus this time last year. So if there's no questions on that, we'll go ahead and go to the rezoning report. The Planning Commission considered 3 zoning cases at their July 8th meeting. We did not actually have a June meeting. We only had 1 case that was brought in, and since they had to wait till August for the Board of Commissioners meeting anyway, which would have been the first item, they agreed to wait till July, so we ended up having 3 in July. Of those 3, only 1 will be going forward to the Commission next week, and that's item B, Mr. Haji, and that's at 9079 Shelbyville Pike. Excuse me, let's get to that. This property is located again on Shelbyville Pike. The applicant is looking to zone the property to commercial general in order to use the property as a used car sales lot. Motor vehicle sales are classified as vehicular, craft, and related equipment sales in our zoning ordinance. Commercial general is that first zone, the commercial zone that will allow for that. The other 2 commercial zones, commercial general is the highest of the 3. Commercial services and commercial neighborhood, neither one of those allow vehicle sales. Commercial services does allow vehicle repair, but not sales. So commercial general is that first zone that would allow that. There is a concept plan that was submitted as well that's on your iPads. He shows the parking display area on the front of the property. The existing house that's on the property will be renovated into an office with the existing garage upgraded for use as a repair and detailing area. There's also a smaller structure, storage barn, if you will, on the property that would be removed. This would continue to be accessed along Shelbyville Pike. Of course, if they want to make any changes to the access point, they would need to get a TDOT permit to do that. They will be required to do landscape buffering around the residentially zoned property. It's adjacent to property that's zoned light industrial right to the north. They wouldn't be required to do any buffering there, and performance standards would apply. The commission members had some questions regarding the number of employees, existing non-residential zoning in the area. We talked a little about that just a moment ago, and potentially sharing access with the property to the north, and also the requirement of a site plan, which this would be required, any improvements on the lot for the new paving areas and whatnot. Following that discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend approval by a 10-to-1 vote. So that's the only one being brought up next week, so I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have on that.
Anything for Doug?
The other 2, were they withdrawn or?
They're both recommended denied, actually. I anticipate them coming back in a different form or fashion within the next couple months, but they both had recommendations for denial, and the applicants decided just to pull them off.
Okay. So they did pull them.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Motion to approve his report.
All right, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Doug, anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Doug.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. All right, that brings us to the landfill report. Mr. McNolan.
Good evening, how are you?
Very good.
Last month was a very busy month for us. We've been a little bit short-handed, and of course, school was out. People like to throw a lot of stuff away during the summer, so we stayed really busy. The landfill, of course, you look at their report, it's not real busy. We're only taking brush and tires, and we are charging for both of those. And then the mayor and I had talked about tires a few weeks ago. Last year, we disposed or recycled 4,706 tons of tires. All they got recycled through the landfill. It cost us $305,908.
So if you're saying it cost us $305,000, we didn't really recycle them.
Oh, yes, they get sent, Liberty Tires, our contractor, and they grind them up and use them for boiler fuel and mulch and some other items like that. They don't get landfill.
What it cost us to, what do we have in revenue for that? Is it on here?
Oh, we pay them.
Yeah, we paid them.
I thought we started charging, though. I thought we started charging for the tire.
We did.
I'm just
Yeah, we
asking,
did.
what was our income for the tire fees?
I did not ask her to report that, and I apologize. I'll start collecting that.
I have a feeling it's considerably less than $305,000.
Actually, if you buy a set of tires from a new tire dealer, they send money, the state winds up with the money, and we wind up with $1 from that.
Right.
So that $1 covered all this cost.
But we didn't start that until July, last month, July 1st.
Right. What we're reporting is last year's number, or, well, actually, it's
So it
July
did cover
1st, it's the month of July.
My facetious comment was pushed back. So those fees from the tire suppliers.
Those fees actually went into effect back in 92, 93.
Right.
I guess through.
Right. I paid a bunch of.
Yeah, and Lieutenant Governor McNally about 4 years ago passed another piece of legislation that charged another 50 cents per tire on all new cars. And that goes to TDEC, and then we're supposed to get some share out of that as well.
That portion of it is intended for grants to help develop markets and equipment and stuff to actually deal with the tires and that type of stuff.
So if I bring a set of tires, what are you going to charge me?
If they're off your personal passenger car and they're off the rim, it'll be $1 each.
Okay.
And that's what we collect from the state.
Okay.
Now, if it's a large tire, big truck tire, bus tire, that type, then we do $65 a ton because that's what we pay to get rid of it. So the way we're set up at the landfill is basically a pass-through.
Okay.
Doesn't the retailer collect $1 a tire for disposal?
The retailer, through this program, collects $1.35 per tire. The retailer keeps 10 cents, and they send $1.25 to the DOR. DOR keeps 25. We get $1. But most of the retailers are actually charging the customer more because they have transportation that's not part of this and some other costs that they charge.
You're actually paying twice. You're paying the $1 twice.
If you're the customer, you're paying the $1 to the dealer, and the state winds up with it, and then we wind up with that back. Now, if you bring us tires, it means they did not go through that program. They didn't go to get recycled until you bring them to us.
But if you charge them $1 to leave them at the landfill, and they've already given the retailer $1 when they bought the tires, looks like they're being charged twice.
They are, if they took those tires with them, yes.
In my world, that's double dipping.
Well, but there's no way for us to know that they've been paid for or not.
You think they stole them?
No. If I go buy a set of tires for my car, I'm not taking those tires home with me. So if you take them home with you, then I don't know what you plan on doing with them. Used to, years ago, the farmers would take the old tires and put them on hay wagons, things like that. They don't do that quite as much anymore. All that system has changed. Yeah.
There's not any hay wagons anymore.
You don't see very many. The old silage pits, they cover them up with a tarp, and it was covered up with tires to hold the tarp down. And there's still farms in this county that still have those tires piled up.
Barn roof, old roof down.
Yeah.
That 305 was indeed paid for through the grant, the recycle money back to us, plus we charge. Is that correct?
Yes. Now, this 305 is what DOR, what we paid to Liberty Tire. That's what we paid them for all the tires that they recycled for us. So if the tire dealer has a trailer on site and they load their tires in that trailer, we never actually see those tires. They go straight to Liberty, they weigh the trailer, and we get the bill for the weight. We pay $65 a ton.
Do they weigh? Did they do the weight and report it?
Liberty does, yes. The only trailers that we weigh personally are the trailers that come in and leave our landfill. The ones at the dealerships don't come to us, they go straight on.
In the future, we'll do things a little different. But let me ask a silly question. What I think Mac described is this is a pass-through, right? We charge $1, and it costs us $1 to get rid of it. Right? What's the sin of making a little money on this deal?
On the money coming from DOR, all those dollars are supposed to be spent on tire operation, either to pay the recycler or you can pay a portion of your scale operator doing the paperwork, that type of stuff. We don't do any of that. We just, you know, because usually we're lucky enough, we're one of the few counties that's lucky enough that our tire dealers do it right. So when they sell a tire, that dollar goes in and you know, they ship it off to be recycled and it's paid for.
Well, I guess where I'm going is, if your folks have to handle the tire, load the tire.
No, we don't. When you come to our landfill, Yolanda will weigh your vehicle and she'll tell you which trailer to put it in and she'll tell you how to stack it in there.
So okay.
You're on your own.
Maybe that answers my question. All right.
Now, when we had tire collection at the convenience centers, we spent a day every week collecting those tires with the litter crew and taking them out there and stacking them in the trailer. But July 1, we don't take them to centers anymore, so that part of our expense has gone away.
I was just wondering why we don't charge $1 and a dime and we keep the dime and put it in your fund and use it to
All leach aid.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, if we're getting $1 and paying $1, but you do have an employee out there.
If you have cost, you got
you're
cost.
Still losing money.
You got cost, right?
Yeah.
Well, but the employee's out there for other reasons too.
I understand, but that person's out there for that too. That was kind of my argument with the brush is, you know, if we don't make money, that's okay. I mean, I always like to, but let's not lose
Let's
money.
not hemorrhage money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, things will change in the future. Yes, sir.
Let me ask one more question. And this is not about tires. So we know where the tires go, and there's so much cardboard that seems to be collected. Where does that go?
The cardboard that we collect in our centers goes to Griff, used to be Carastar, and before that was SP, and it's in Laverne on Industrial Boulevard. So all the loads go there. We get a check per load. We actually get paid per load. And this last month we got paid $17.50 a ton for cardboard and $12.50 for the paper.
Is that anywhere as far as the dollar amounts? What's coming back to us? Has that been provided or anything?
Now that's the recycled stuff is separate from the tires. The tires is a whole animal all to itself.
Okay.
And on our recycled stuff, I looked at the numbers the other day, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but we did bring in some money.
Okay.
Now the money that we brought in helps offset the trucking cost, so it is not profitable. But it's a little bit. It's landfill diversion, and it's a little diversion of money. But last year we finished the budget for last year. So what I do is take that's on the convenience center report, but we'll go ahead and get into it. But I'll keep up with the productive truck hours of every truck every day, not the engine hours, the productive hours. And I keep those logged in, and at the end of the budget year, I'll take the total dollars spent out of the convenience center budget, not what was budgeted, how much the dollars actually spent. And last year we spent $2,837,014.58. We had 22,998.5 truck hours for the year. So that means our truck cost per hour is $123.35. Is that what you're asking?
I'm just trying to keep up with the numbers.
Okay.
But it would be interesting to see the revenue presented, like what was the revenue and the dollar collected or the $65 per ton, and what would be the revenue on this other item. It might be interesting to see.
Okay, I mean, when they close out the budget, all that is in different line items. We can find that
But
one.
if they're cutting checks to you, it'd be curious. It'd be interesting to see what were the check totals from the cardboard company. I'm not on the spot, but
Okay.
could there be a line item that might be interesting for us?
There's a line item on the income side that doesn't show in our budget. It was never
Like we see,
reported
we
from
have
that, but
here, we
can.
have an abundance of items that are tracked and presented. I would find it interesting to see perhaps
If you go back to
what checks have they sent to us from, what was the company called? There's third
we deal
iteration.
with several different companies. If it's cardboard and paper, we take it to what is now called Griff.
There you go. And they cut a check per load.
Uh-huh.
I'd be curious to see. So
And then,
we can see how much they're cutting checks for. It'd be interesting.
If it's aluminum or scrap metal, it either goes to aluminum either goes to Clark Iron and Metal or goes to Express in Laverne. If it's scrap metal, it can either go to Clark, Express, or Averett in Leanna. Glass goes to Waste Management. Plastic goes to Waste Management. Single stream goes to Waste Management. And at Waste Management, we pay, I think it's up to $8 a ton now for a processing fee, and we receive no revenue. And if it's contaminated, then they'll take the amount of the load, they'll look at the load when it's dumped out on the ground, and they'll look at it and say, well, that's 20% contamination in it. 20% of whatever that tonnage is charged to us at $150 a ton. So you will see some of our trucks hauling loads of plastic to the landfill. So if the driver deems it's largely contaminated, it goes straight to the landfill. So that's bags and everything else. Single stream commodity out of the school systems is the same way.
But diversion is a big conversation topic these days, and your job and what you do is a community-wide topic now. So,
well, then the single stream, the plastic commodity, and the glass commodity financially is not worth recycling whatsoever, especially since we have free disposal. But if you get our residents out of that habit, it is going to be very difficult to get them back into it. So that's the reason we're continuing to do that. We think in the future we'll eventually find markets for those materials. We think the U.S. markets are going to step up to the plate and create the market and not depend on overseas markets and all that kind of stuff. It's a big shift with all these big companies. It's going to take them a little while to change. Going back to the landfill, we took in 228.75 tons of brush last month and $1,976. We're open on the third Saturday of each month, and that Saturday we took in $42.
apologize for so many questions
That's
tonight,
fine.
but with brush, it takes up so much space. Is it chipped before it goes in?
There's two locations you can take brush as a resident here in Rutherford County. You can take it to the City of Murfreesboro's mulch facility on Florence Road, and when they get their new grinder, because their other one burned, so they're stockpiling it now, they'll grind it up and make mulch out of it. And some of that mulch goes for boiler fuel, some of it actually goes for landscaping and those different types of things. And currently, the residents can go get that at no charge. They can pick it up. If you bring it to our landfill, we still have a permit to burn. So we do, just like you would on the farm, we'll pile it up in a pile and light it and burn it.
Okay.
But it does not get buried. Now the ashes do. On the convenience center side, I've already told you what the trucking cost is. It's gone up quite a bit, but if you look at that, I guess it's the fourth page of your report. It'd be page 1 of 2. Right in the middle, it's got front end loader boxes, tons and cubic yards. That's what we picked up at the shut-ins. The shut-ins are the nursing homes, the jail, the workhouse, and the juvenile detention, and in all the schools. That's a real low number during the summer. That number will be closer to 5,000 tons. You know, when school starts back, which it started back. City school started last week, county school started this week. The centers have been really busy because of population, cleaning out, summer activities, that type of stuff, and we're actually 3 drivers short. And I want to pat my department on the back. They made the decisions and made it happen before I knew what was going on. Yesterday, we have 4 front-end loader trucks, and that's what we service the schools and other county buildings with. 2 of them are in the shop in Nashville. So we have 2 to run route with. 1 of them wouldn't run yesterday morning. I had my mechanic scheduled to be in a roll-off truck hauling convenience center tracks. So my front-end loader driver that was going to pick up the recycle called the mechanic. He hadn't left home yet, told him what was wrong with the truck. And the mechanic was going to be there in a little over an hour. So instead of sitting there waiting with nothing to do, he took that list that the mechanic had, got in a roll-off truck, started hauling loads while the mechanic came in and got the truck fixed. Once the truck got fixed, they actually just swapped trucks and went about their way. The garbage truck driver knew what was going on. So he called the recycle driver. All the schools on Monday are contaminated anyway. So they split the routes up and they were still done in 8 hours, even after being broke down for 3. That's the type of employees I have. They know how to get things done. And you know, if you were an outsider looking in, it'd be like the duck sitting on the pond and you just see it barely moving, but you don't see the feet underneath. You know, so I applaud them for making those decisions and getting it all done. And speaking of that, got a phone call Saturday from Trey Lee, and they're trying to open 2 schools to get them ready. We put the schools in a bind when we wait on funding so long that they can barely get it ready in time. Neither one of those schools are actually 100% complete, but they've got students in them today. Well, they had their dumpsters lined up and ready, so we get a phone call, and that's the first time we know. We're like the highway department. We don't know what's going on in schools trash-wise until they tell us. But on August the 1st, we met the delivery truck with their dumpsters at the 2 new schools and unloaded them with our front loader trucks. That's when we find out how many dumpsters they ordered. And then we determine their level of service. But all the contractors had moved all their dumpsters out. There was still stuff to be thrown away. They'd already filled up their dumpsters. So on Saturday, I get a phone call. We don't run that style truck on Saturday. But the recycle driver that made the decision to get in the truck yesterday was running a roll-off truck Saturday. So I called him. If you get an opportunity, take the truck over there and dump them. Well, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he called. He said, "You want me to still go?" I said, "No, it's too late to go now." So we don't run those trucks on Sunday, but Monday morning, we got them taken care of. You know, so the city schools is the same way. They had their dumpsters running over with construction stuff and everything else, so we try to take care of them as well. But timing is critical. And the reason I bring that up is most often, if you build a new structure, Commissioner Dodd, you're in that industry, there's a punch list for the contractor to finish up everything that you see that didn't get done wrong. The school's not having the time to get the punch list done. That's the situation we're putting them into.
Actually, I think that's the contractor's issue. I don't know that it's a school issue.
Well, it's a timing issue. We're not giving them enough time. The other thing that would have affected them a little bit is we had a real rainy weather. So until they got it under a roof, they probably couldn't, there's several days they couldn't work. But our volume of trash is still going up. Our recycle is going up as well. Recycling through the state and trash is measured by the ton. You pick up school garbage and household garbage and compactors, there's a lot of weight there. If you've got a recycled commodity, you've got a load of paper. If you've seen the container that we haul paper with out of Haley Road, there's one at Rock Crusher, and there's one at Weekly Lane. They're roll-off containers. Most of the time, if it's mostly newspaper, those containers will weigh about 6 tons. During Christmas time, they'll weigh about 2 because it's fluffy type stuff. But most of the commodities are light. If you look, you try to look at how much we recycle, I can tell you it's roughly 17% by weight, but it's roughly 27% by truckload, if you take the weight factor out of it. So that number is going up. Our biggest struggle, even when we get the PIO person involved, is messaging. You know, get the message out. You know, we cannot have plastic bags. If you put the commodity in a plastic bag, it's contamination. And the bag itself is not recyclable with the company that we're dealing with.
You mentioned cubic yards. Would compactors affect that ratio?
Our cardboard, all the cardboard loads with the exception of Haley Road is compacted. We dumped loads this weekend. One of them was a little over 6 tons, one was over 5. They're always, when they're full, over 4. But the centers that are the slower centers, the least active centers, have heavier loads. Your Weekly Lane, Sand Hills, Almaville, Walter Hill, and Rock Crusher are usually lighter because the loads comes in quickly and they're filling up the hopper and pushing it. The centers that are less busy, you have a resident come in and throw a cardboard box in that compactor, and once they leave, the center tender will walk over there and push the button and pack it up. They're packing it more often, they'll get the heavier loads. Heaviest load we've had so far in 11 years is out of Eagleville. And it weighed 7.5 tons, and it was a nightmare to dump out. Because it took almost 2.5 months to get it full. You have a little sweat, a little condensation, it gets a little rust, it gets a little, and it's stuck in there. But yes, compacting is the way to go.
You and I have spoken briefly. It's a big investment, though. We got a lot of empty space on trucks, a lot of cubic yardage. Look at your cubic yardage numbers here. If you're compacted, your cubic yards go way down. Your tons go up.
Right. We use Smash It. I think I've explained most of it, and 2 of you have actually seen that. August the 22nd at 10 o'clock at our office will be another demonstration. The GNRC Solid Waste Directors Roundtable will be meeting here in town. As far as I know, we're the only county that uses Smash It. With the numbers of hauls that we have for the weekend, this Sunday night when I went in and did the paperwork, we started Monday morning with 114 loads to haul. We only normally run 4 trucks on Monday to do that, and we've got 2 trucks on the school stuff. And then on Tuesday, we'll wind up with 8 or 9 on the street. But trying to get all that done. So I had to Smash It come in this weekend to do 18 loads. And what that does for us is it creates more space. It takes away a lot of that airspace. And those are loads that they can add to again and give us time to get everything open, so with everything else hauled, so we can actually keep all the centers open. And today we wound up with 9 roll-off trucks on the street. I haven't done the paperwork, but they probably hauled somewhere in the neighborhood of 65 or 70 loads. Some of those loads would have been loads that were smashed yesterday that got refilled. Some of those loads won't get refilled, and some of them actually get smashed twice. So an open top load that normally runs somewhere around 1.4 to 2.2 tons, if we get them smashed like at Epps Mill Center, we've had some as heavy as 5 tons. It costs us $40 each time he smashes it, at $135 an hour, and it's a 2-hour round trip. You smash it twice and basically get 2 full loads back into it, we've saved money. Now, it does not work if you've got short hauls. If you've got a haul that takes an hour or less, it just financially doesn't work out right. And I've got to give our contractor credit. My wife and I went on vacation. We were in Alaska and the phone service did not work. And I explained to my guys how to use Smash It and what to call him and what to tell him and all that kind of stuff. So they called in and they were going to send him to Las Casas and to Weekly Lane because they were all full. And my contractor said, I'd love to have the money, but Mac won't like that. He doesn't send me to those locations. Okay, thank you. So the contractor helped my guys make the right decisions. Any other questions?
Need a motion to approve this report.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Matt. Do you want to expand a little bit on the GNRC meeting? end of August, or mid-August.
August 22nd?
Yeah.
The mayor's caucus, can I get Becky to come up here and help? She'll explain it better than me. She likes being put on the spot.
She made the trip, she might as well.
Well, that's the reason, I knew she was gonna be late. That's the
Yeah.
reason I wanted to get moved later, so I could pick up. This is Becky Caldwell. She's with GNRC. And we talk often.
We do talk often.
But the mayor's caucus recommended that we start working on a solution for Middle Tennessee, Greater Nashville region. And that's Becky's task to get us all together, so you can go from there.
It's my task to get us organized. And the overall goal would be that we look at solid waste as an integrated system throughout Middle Tennessee. What resources do we need? What infrastructure do we need? With that came our Solid Waste Directors Roundtable, which is a group of solid waste directors from Middle Tennessee, Mac, Joey over at City of Murfreesboro, Davidson County, several other counties in Middle Tennessee, as well as the cities, send their solid waste directors to our meeting once a month. We either invite folks from the community that are small businesses or folks that are doing good things as far as public education, things like that other cities or counties may be interested in, that may be beneficial to them. So this year we are starting to actually take our, what Mac would call the road show. We're taking our roundtable on the road, and so we're going to start visiting other folks' facilities throughout the area to see what they're doing that's different, that may be beneficial to others within the group. And so this time we'll be here. We'll be at either Mac's location or Joey's location, depending on the RSVPs, and then we'll have the Smash It demo there while we bring the other solid waste directors in. I think what Mac has done has been it's been creative and it's been beneficial, because obviously you're hauling fewer loads. You're condensing the load, so you're hauling fewer loads with what you're doing using Smash It, especially on the weekends. So I think that may be of interest to other cities and counties that are doing similar. They're operating in a similar way.
There's what, 3 landfills in Middle Tennessee, Rutherford County, Montgomery County, and Marshall County, is that correct?
In the state or in the area?
Middle Tennessee.
Just in Middle Tennessee, we've got By County landfill. We've got By County, which is Montgomery, Stewart County.
Okay.
We've got West Camden, which is over in Benton County. That's a waste management landfill. We have, obviously, Middle Point here in Rutherford County. We have Cedar Ridge landfill down in Marshall County in Lewisburg. And then we have Smith County on the northeast side. That's Smith County owned landfill. And those are all Class 1 municipal solid waste landfills.
We have, what, 34 different entities coming here presently?
Possibly coming here presently. And those, let me explain that to you a little bit. Those actual counties may not be shipping anything. But if Republic Services has a customer in that county that they're hauling, more than likely it's going to come from Middle Point.
Okay.
Any other questions while you've got the garbage gal here?
Think of a better phrase.
Oh, it's better than something.
I know, right?
Trash
She cleaned it up, yeah.
So as far as your regional solution, you're just in the beginning phase of that process?
Actually, we have produced a plan that's the Solid Waste Master Plan for TDEC that was actually submitted to them June 30th. And then we've also looked at solutions along the way as far as if all of our counties were to choose to recycle some of the basics and basically go back to the foundation of cardboard, mixed paper, metals, and plastics 1 and 2 for a starter, for a point. Start there, pick date certain, everyone says we're going to recycle these materials. And then all of a sudden you have an opportunity for the processing facilities to know what they're going to get. We have an opportunity to back up and look at the quality so that when we start to push quantity, we're not sending it all to the landfill as garbage. The contamination is creating a big issue for the recycling, and I think if we take the opportunity while the markets are not strong and back up again and reset and build a new foundation of basics or go back to a simpler system, I think more people will eventually catch on and participate.
So what is Rutherford County's role in whatever we've been whatever solution that's been recommended?
That would be your choice. That would be Rutherford County's choice. This is just basically what we've done is we've looked at the area and said there are 2.4 million tons of waste generated in 21 counties in Middle Tennessee. That waste is going somewhere now, but the 4,000 tons that goes to Middle Point landfill will need to go elsewhere when they're full. And so there will need to be a decision or an opportunity there to say, okay, what should we do with that, or what does that look like? Composting is something that's important that we've seen. Yard waste is about 30% of that 2.4 million tons. So you start to look at it and say, can we pull yard waste out and start composting? Can we, start to manage that space or manage that material in a different way that's more responsible, and it also saves landfill space. So we're looking at it from a material standpoint, but we're also looking at it from an infrastructure standpoint. Transportation will be one of the biggest challenges. Our roadways and our infrastructure are not built for the traffic we have, but we're also looking at large truck traffic. We've started to have those conversations about what can we haul on a rail and what can we haul on a barge and where can we take it. What does that look like as far overall? And from point A to point B, what's the distance? Obviously, the closer the better, but the preferable distance is usually 50 miles or shorter one way. But you're pushing 75 or 100 in some cases, and that's one way.
Sure.
Do you know if anyone is trying to have a piece of property permitted for a new landfill in the Middle Tennessee area anywhere?
As of right now, the answer would be no. No, sir. No one's pulled a permit for it or pulled an application for a permit for it. Now, there are permitted landfill space. There is permitted landfill space in some of the counties in Middle Tennessee, but there's no,
It's not being
they're not
used.
operating. No, sir.
I think one in particular is close to a high-end subdivision with $500,000 homes in it. And
It is.
I don't think there's any way that would ever occur.
That county's planning and engineering departments didn't protect that piece of property.
That's correct.
And they also have the option that if any of those counties chose to open, they could only entertain accepting waste just from their county. So that would be, an option for them or a decision for them to make.
So where do you see 34 counties trash going in 20 years?
Maybe less than 20.
In 20,
Well,
in 20 years, I would say, eventually, if we can take a step back and look at it overall as per material or a list of materials and manage now what we can alternatively as opposed to burying it all, I think you'll be left with some materials that are hard to recycle, some materials that don't have markets at all and have not ever had markets in our southeast area. I think you would have a fraction, maybe 25 or 30% of what you've got now. And then there's always the opportunity for an incinerator type facility. Would be similar to like the city of Huntsville has a waste to energy facility, and they feed the Redstone Arsenal from their Covanta site. It's actually owned by the city of Huntsville but operated by Covanta. And they obviously produce steam for the arsenal, and then they have about 10% residual. And that has to be landfill, typically.
And that site was built in the early 1990s, and roughly half of the garbage actually still goes to landfill because the site's at capacity.
So there'll have to be a landfill somewhere.
There
Multiple.
does.
Multiple.
Well, depending on where you are and how far you'll have to travel and what you're bearing, what you're hauling to the landfill. But yes, sir, there's right now there is no, and I'll just say it this way, right now there is no magic garbage machine. And the best way to manage it is to basically pick it apart by material, because each material can be managed differently and the value of it can be considered commodity, or can actually be considered, something that can be put into another product. The best solution is to reduce what we buy or what we purchase with packaging and other things. You don't have a lot of choices there. So manufacturing is a piece of this. And then you're starting to look at the hierarchy of reduce, reuse, recycle, compost it, waste to energy, and then landfilling, which is the least.
Legislation's going to be a part of that too. Has to be a part of that.
Becky, there's a facility in Coffee County right behind the jail, right off the interstate, and they are taking recycling. I believe they have another one in, it's not just recycling, but they're picking up garbage at the transfer station. They come in from Warren County and other counties, and then they put it into a larger semi-tractor trailer open top, and they're taking it all the way to Bradley County, meaning that they have to go over Mount Eagle and through Chattanooga and back up to Bradley County to that landfill.
And that's their transfer station in Coffee County.
In Coffee County.
And that same group has one in Warren County,
Warren
and they do the
County,
same
yes,
thing.
exactly.
They both go the same place.
That's a long distance.
And to think Montego Mountain.
I know. Not bad coming back.
No.
Well, you got to go
Trying
with
to
the
pull,
other
I say
side.
trying to pull a
There are
full trailer.
runaway ramps there.
If you look at landfill space in Tennessee as a whole, Middle Tennessee has an issue. East Tennessee almost has an overabundance of space. West Tennessee is in a whole lot better shape than we are. But you know, Middle Tennessee, I would guess, I don't know, but is population-wise more heavily populated per acre or whatever you want, bigger than the other two. Is that a fair statement? Any other questions on that?
Oh, I got one more.
Okay.
The roughly 200 acres left in our county landfill that does not have trash on it, if that was prepared for a Rutherford County landfill, how long would that service this county?
I cannot tell you the answer to your full question, but if you go up Landfill Road, you get past Middle Point, the property line runs to the east or to the west, and follows our two properties follow around to the river from there, and they've got a sediment pond. Then you start up the slope, and then you've got our landfill. If you took that area and put in a cell to take garbage, municipal solid waste garbage, it would last possibly 4 years.
How big an area is it?
I can't tell you acres wise, but it's because we looked at that, and that was
10 or 50?
How many acres total? It's probably 25, 30 maybe.
Unless you have a tornado,
Or flood.
then
And we don't wish.
we have a tornado again, like the Good Friday tornado. If I understand, Middle Point is going to be at capacity. Is that fair?
Probably. The 09 tornado took a little over 10 years of life out of our landfill.
Yeah, I was going to say that, that's what you quoted several months ago.
Becky, is your group, your think tank, as you look at different technologies for waste management, are you looking at potential end users for those technologies that would use waste in the form of energy, either pellets to use as fuel or to convert to steam or electricity to drive manufacturing, things like that? Are you always cognizant of looking for those industrial, either newcomers or existing, where a facility could be located within an industrial development zone where you could supply energy?
We are. We're actually looking at what I would consider a whole solution. So you always have to collect it, process it, transfer it, and then dispose of it.
Right.
So that whole picture, those 4 steps are primary to any solid waste service. Overall, the intent would be if we were to site a facility at point A, all of a sudden, if you don't have an outlet for the energy or you don't have an outlet for the recyclables, then that's not doing that community or that or that facility a service. So ultimately, we're looking at the full circle So basically where you start at the curb, you collect it, you process it, you sell it back to the manufacturers, and then the manufacturers make it back into new products and truly recycle it. We're looking at that as a whole, and what I'll tell you is there is, I mean, as frustrating as landfills may be, there's an economic and community development piece to that. If we continue to stay with trucks, every truck driver's got to have a tank of fuel. Tank of fuel, a cup of coffee, a restroom. You know, so that tends to drive some sort of, you know, whether it's a Love's truck stop or Flying J truck stop, something like that for smaller communities. But then you also have restaurants and other things that tend to show up in those areas. So there is a piece of that that can be positive for smaller communities that do need economic development.
Are you talking about like a mini processing plant that could convert waste to a fuel at a truck stop? I lost you there.
Well, we've looked at several. So if you build a facility, wherever you build a facility, if you choose a more rural area, all of a sudden you have an area that could use some economic and community development. It can be convenient. There is an opportunity for development in that area, but you also have opportunity for other industry to build to use the energy.
Yeah.
You know, we've looked at potentially would there be a public facility somewhere that could use electricity and/or steam? Is there an industry that's already here, or an industry talking of coming here, where we could build a facility either adjacent to or near? One of the challenges with electricity is actually some of the TVA rules, as far as selling electricity over property lines and that type of thing. And those are conversations to be had. I think the biggest challenge is to decide what direction, or which, you know, to make a choice of what direction to go in or what option to start with. And I think yard waste and composting is a good place to start, because it's not that complicated. You see what you have left. So basically, if you start with 500 tons and you pull out a couple of 100 tons of yard waste, and then you pull out 100 tons of plastic, and then all of a sudden you're looking at a much smaller volume to be landfilled.
What do you think about, we've seen a few technologies, I'm not going to name names, but we've seen a few technologies that you pull the good recyclables out, right? The money makers, you pull that out, and the rest goes into a popper, and out comes a byproduct that you could burn, you could use as compost, you could do something with. So it's kind of like pushing the easy button, right? I mean, as a homeowner or a consumer, I don't have to have a black bin and a green bin, and you know, it's not a lot of fuss. So
it's the easy button.
Yeah, I mean, what is your opinion of some of those technologies that are out there that kind of do all the work behind the scenes under the roof?
The biggest challenge of those is the output, and what's the market for the output, and how is that a viable market? Is that a sustainable market? I think that's the biggest challenge of when you start to look at recyclables as an example. You run into similar challenges. If your buyer disappears, if your buyer goes out of business, what then do you do? You've now stockpiled, you know, the output. I think those technologies serve a purpose. I think it depends on your volume. I think it's what you want to do as far as recyclables, as far as how you want to process your materials in your waste stream. Some of the compost will end up needing to be screened and tested. Not sure we could use it as compost. It just depends on what the process is. There are other technologies. There are new technologies coming out of the gate every day. So I think eventually you'll see outlets for some of those materials. That's the big challenge.
I guess what this committee's concern is, we don't have the time to wait for some of those technologies to hit the market. And then we don't necessarily want to be the guinea pig to test that market.
Agreed.
So what we're concerned is what is available now, what makes the most sense, and then are we going to go this alone, or are we going to be more of a part of a regional solution? You talk to 8 or 9 different people here, you might get 8 or 9 different answers. but that's the elephant we're trying to eat, one bite at a time here, Commissioner.
Would you take me through our waste stream quickly? My understanding is residential, small commercial, the schools. Is that our waste stream? And then the Nissans, the Bridgestones, the larger factories, they're doing something else. Is that correct?
You're close. Rutherford County's part of the waste stream is the convenience centers, the recycle center on Haley Road, the landfill, brush and tires. So at our convenience centers, it's intended to be household waste only. So you've got the kitchen waste and some furniture and that type of stuff. City of Murfreesboro is household curbside collection and small businesses with a cart. That's what they're picking up. We also do the schools. Now it's 63 schools starting this year, the city and county schools. But the city doesn't really pick up any restaurants. So, food waste is one of the compostable things that you'd like to have. For us to do that, we'd have to change our method of collection. The city would have to change theirs, we would have to change ours. The schools, if we could get them on board with it, would have to have a food only, maybe with some paper products or something that's still compostable. And our centers would have to have a separate collection. More than likely would have to be a front-end loader bin instead of a roll-off bin. Depends on how much volume you get. You can't let it sit there long. You're going to start winding up with flies and maggots and all those type of issues. And then when you move to the private sector, you've got a lot of private industry trash haulers that also do curbside collection of residential, and then they do front-end loader service for your restaurants and your other businesses. Then you've got roll-off services for your construction, your manufacturing, your large businesses. They do trash, they do recycle, they do special waste, and they can take care of whatever commodity a business may have. Is that what you were asking?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And if you take that amount of waste in Rutherford County, last year's numbers, City of Murfreesboro solid waste was roughly 86,000 tons that year. The amount of waste that included ours as well, this is a number that includes that 86,000, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 390,000 tons generated within the county that went to Middle Point.
390?
Yeah, so if you take our number out, you're closer to a little over 300,000. And then you've got other private haulers that don't dump at Middle Point. They collect stuff here, but they'll take it to their locations. And once we get the annual progress report back from TDEC, we'll be able to tell you how much tonnage that was. But part of our challenge is going to be in our decision-making process is which waste and how much waste are we going to try to accommodate? Are we going to worry about just our residential waste that the city and the county is doing now, or are we going to worry about all the industries and the restaurants and everything else? So you're looking at a lot of different moving factors, and you've got to determine, how big you want it to be.
A lot of layers of the onion.
And the biggest struggle of all we're going to have is perception. Perception for all these years is trash has been for free. It's not actually been for free, but until Murfreesboro started putting out bills, nobody actually saw a bill for it. So changing that lifestyle, that culture, and that attitude is going to be a big, big struggle to get that message out and explain why. We've always done it this way before, now we're changing it. Why are you changing it? And that's the explanation.
All good stuff. Any other questions for Becky while she's here, or Mac while he's present? We'll continue this conversation on later day. Becky, it's always good to have you. I appreciate you coming, and please come again so we can continue the process.
Thank you.
All right. Will we approve Mac's reports? We need a motion to approve Mac's reports.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Becky, you want to talk about C?
I'm sorry.
Landfill report.
C.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Mayor. Yes. Convenience center policy on state ID issues is what this is. Our convenience center rules have not changed a whole lot over the years. It's had some tweaks done to it. One of the big difficulties that we struggle with is trying to determine who is allowed in and who isn't. Our convenience centers are intended to be for Rutherford County residents only. No businesses, no commercial, and no outside of county trash. And to monitor and keep that under control is very, very difficult. Part of the difficulty is car tags. You know, if you go out of the county and buy your vehicle and they actually put that tag on for you, now you've got an out-of-county vehicle, but you're a Rutherford County resident. You know, so the car tags could and should change each year. But what normally will happen is you get that tag on your vehicle, you renew it here in Rutherford County the next year, and that county sticker does not get changed. So you're a Rutherford County resident with a label from a different county, but your registration actually says you're from here. Driver's license for identification, you don't change your driver's license but every 6 years. You know, so if you lived here and then moved to Nashville, so you kept bringing your trash back and we're dependent on that, then you know, we have a problem there. You know, just trying to figure out what we can do. You know, if you look at a Rutherford County license plate only, we're only going to take that vehicle that has a Rutherford County residential tag. Who you cutting out? Anybody with a vanity tag doesn't have it. Anybody with a commercial tag doesn't have it. You know, anybody with a rental car or a lease vehicle that doesn't have a Rutherford County tag on it, you cut those out. You know, so, you know, trying to keep all that in check and collected is very, very difficult. You know, and I don't know what the best solution is going to be.
You know what? There's 4 of those little spots on a license plate. One of them could hold a trash sticker.
Or put one on your windshield.
And put it on a sticker and wash off a windshield. Them things stay on a license plate forever.
Yeah, they're hard to get off.
You know, put it on the license plate. I can buy one every year.
You buy an annual
Yeah.
convenience center tag or sticker.
Could it be dispensed at the county clerk's office?
Yeah, when you get your tag.
Michael.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Mac and I have been talking about this for some time, and so I asked him to kind of explain the problem today. Other people you may cut out are people who just moved here and bought a piece of property, and they've been here from California for 2 months. And they still haven't changed their tags over. But I'd like for the committee to actually take it under advisement and be thinking over the next several months what we could do. You know, if it's a hang from your rearview mirror or a sticker on the front window, as Commissioner talked about, there's got to be something, because there's such an abuse. We're getting a lot of abuse, as Max says, from coming over from Antioch into our facility, coming into that end of the county. We get a lot from Bedford County that come in and they bypass Fosterville and come straight to Rock Crusher, right? So it's not fair. As our growth continues, we are having to pay for everybody else that wants to take advantage of our conveniences. So it's something I think that this committee could dig into and come up with some way to keep everybody honest. I don't know if it's one time showing your electric bill, you know, it's just it's very complicated and layered of how you address it. But there's got to be some way that maybe what other states are doing, or we can look into some way that we keep allowing people who actually live here use our facilities that we're paying for, and not other people trying to take advantage of what we're providing.
And then you get into even more layers. I know of at least one resident from Wilson County and one resident from Williamson County is their property, the county line runs through. Their address for their home is in the other county. So technically, they're not Rutherford County residents. They're just simply property owners in Rutherford County. So how do you address that?
Well, there's a great few of those.
Right. And then I had a conversation with a gentleman who lives here in the county, or actually lives in a city, but he's running with a different county tag. He's been living in that same house for 20 years, been using the same convenience center for 20 years. We're trying really hard to enforce that. The reason he doesn't have the tag, he doesn't own the house, he rents the house. And his tag comes from another county because he can't pass emissions here. You know, so that's one of the struggles we run into. You know, is he technically a resident? Yeah, he rents a home here. But you got to be cautious there. We have similar situations with MTSU students. You know, they move in here to go to school. Well, some of them go home for the summer, and some of them don't. But they're not going to change to a Rutherford County tag. But they actually are a resident while they're here. You know, so.
But they could buy one of our little special stickers and put on.
They could.
But as our waste stream continues to grow, there's going to be more issues. We're going to find people dumping more and more tires out in the rural areas. We'll find that maybe the cities need to look at passing ordinances if they, you know, we don't have a wheel tax sticker enforcement officer anymore. Bart Smith used to do that.
Right.
And he always used to go to a lot of the convenience centers and catch folks, you know, who were coming in and using our facilities from out of county tags. But, you know, it's something this committee really needs to look at because it's going to continue to increase.
But if you remember, a few years ago, we did away with the actual wheel tax sticker.
We did, because it saved us money.
Absolutely.
It saved us money and not having to print that stamp.
But going back to Bart Smith, when I was over the BFI hauling company, this was back in the 90s, we had a fleet of trucks that was trucks parked here in Rutherford County. They were all tagged out of Davidson County. Bart wrote us a ticket because we were actually here in Rutherford County. We didn't have Rutherford County wheel tax stickers. So we had to gather up all that information, take them down, buy all those stickers, go on them. So those trucks actually wound up with Davidson and Rutherford. And then we changed it, we just bought them here.
You know, you come in maybe one time and show your electric bill and then you get a little sticker or something to put on your sticker. Back to stickers, but start paying fees. There's just ideas that
we'll
committee
pitch something. This is a smart group here. We'll
Needs to be a minimum charge to pay for the sticker.
To pay for the sticker, yeah.
Well, what you're going to have minimum, I would say, I'm guessing, is the cost to actually obtain that sticker. And then you're going to have it changed every year, similar to the way the wheel tax stickers were. And then Lisa Kroll is probably going to need some kind of fee for handling that.
She always wants $1 of everything you charge.
Okay. So, you know, if you actually, you know, the intent is to make nothing off of it, you still got those costs that will have to cover, that sticker would have to be covering.
Start charging $2 for tires instead.
Yeah.
Glad you, I've forgotten all about that one.
What else you got?
I have a budget amendment when we get ready.
To do it?
We need to approve the report.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. All right, amend us.
I figured since we're the first meeting of the year, we'll make the first budget amendment. What we're asking for is a $200,000 budget amendment to go into the site development line item for our convenience center budget coming out of our solid waste fund balance. And the intent for this line item is for the Leanna site. And what we want to try to do is keep all the expenses in this one line item. It started with $20,000, so whatever that number we can, you know, if we'd move it around or whatever. But what I want to be able to tell you when we finish it, what did that cost? Right here's what it cost us. So the first thing that we've got to do is we already have the permit is to take the building down when we get our plans completely finalized. We'll bring the contractor in to bring the building down, actually go in there and raise up the property to get the site work done. And that's what this money's for. And then as we go through the bid process, we'll know what other expenses we're going to have to do. So my hope is this is well more than the amount of money we're going to need for the start. But as we go through the process, we'll just keep coming for budget amendments. Probably the easiest way is when we have a bid opening, then we'll do the budget amendment to go along with that.
Mr. Chairman, while we're talking about Leanna, I'd like to compliment MAG. We were on the verge of TDUC has come in and they've started withdrawing a lot of grants that were out there that couldn't be fulfilled. But MAG likes the challenge and he stepped up and we saved a $100,000 grant. I challenged him to get this done and he did. We made several phone calls and were able to get because I think the grant said that it just has to be operational. It didn't say it had to be permanent, so we were able to get some electricity out there. He already had the compactors on site, so when the TDEC inspector came by, it was a temporary service, and we were able to make them work, you know, and then he left and we unplugged them, so. But that saved us $100,000 that would go towards that new facility.
And the other thing it helped with on that is it's set up temporarily, but every piece of equipment that's going to be there is there. It's just in a whole lot smaller footprint, so it's not actual.
Yeah, Mac made it work, so congratulations.
It also decreased my amount of phone calls and emails about when we're going to start. So when that happened, I don't think I've had a phone call since about when we're going to start.
I know it's coming. It's coming.
It looks like we're moving on.
Where you make a withdrawal from your fund balance every time. You're building this whole thing out of fund balance?
Yes, sir. I'm glad you asked that question. I was looking at our budget, and we finished up, you know, I mentioned how much we actually spent out of the convenience center budget. Let me tell you how much we did not spend. $855,000 we did not spend last year out of the convenience center budget. Most of that, not all of that, but most of that was going to be for some of these grant-funded projects. You know, so that money went back into fund balance. And at the time we started this budget process, late February, we thought we would have been finished with these projects by the time this budget started. Well, that didn't happen. So what we'll be winding up doing is that money went back. So as we go through, we'll request to pull it out of fund balance and put it back into the budget.
And you anticipated that when you did your budget and maintained your fund balance. You knew you had an expectation of some.
The solid waste department has a fund balance anyway. Any money that we do not spend out of any of our 5 budgets automatically goes back into the solid waste fund balance.
It doesn't roll into general or anything like that.
But also when you fund our budget, we are short funded. We're intended to spend close to $1 million out of fund balance each budget year. I had this conversation with a Smyrna resident the other day, and y'all probably won't appreciate the way I said it, but he called. I sat behind a Davidson County car in my convenience center in downtown Smyrna, and I don't like it. Why can't you keep these cars out? Well, if they moved here, they hadn't changed their tag, then they're our residents, so they're allowed in here. Why can't you make them change their tag? We can't do that. We don't have the teeth for that. Well, I pay my taxes. I said, where do you live, sir? Downtown Smyrna. So you're talking about your property taxes? He said, yes, sir. I said, I appreciate you paying them, but we don't get 1 penny of that. I said, where do you buy your groceries? I go to Kroger in Smyrna. He said, yes, sir. We get property tax, but not any of that. I said, our solid waste centers are funded through rural sales tax. That's it. And now what's helped us a lot is Dollar General. So that dollar amount has gone up quite a bit more. When I started here 11 years ago, the fund balance was $3.5 million. Started on July the 21st. The budget already started. Mayor Burgess said, we took $500,000 out of your budget. Don't know if that's a good thing or not. Make it work. And you're expected to spend $500,000 out of your fund balance. So we reduced the budget again the following year, and the fund balance went up. So it's grown in 11 years from $3.5 million to almost $8.5 million. But we're going to need all that money for facilities, equipment, and then we're going to need more company.
All right, Mac has asked for a $200,000 movement of money in it. So we need to take a roll call vote on that.
Have a motion.
We do need to have a motion and a second to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Second. All right.
You're a senator and you didn't even make a motion.
I didn't feel it was appropriate. I'm sitting there thinking whether I should even vote.
Commissioner Blair?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Rather?
Yes.
Commissioner Kush?
Yes. Anything else, Mac?
No, sir.
All right. For the sake of time, I will dispense and save the Waste Away update until next month because next month we will have 2 presentations. If the gentleman from Utah,
That's as a stone.
yeah, he will be back on the agenda in September for the Fulcrum Bioenergy, and Waste Away will be back with a recap of our visit of last month. There was approximately 20 of us that went to Warren County to visit the Waste Away facility, and they will come back and do a presentation for those who did not attend, and the audience at home can see that as well. And then they'll talk to us about the next step forward, what they will offer in terms of a report specific to Rutherford County if we want to choose to enter that research with them. So I'll just save that so I won't steal any of their thunder for next month. So be prepared for 2 presentations next month. Now, next meeting is September 3rd, and that also conflicts with a September 3rd Tennessee County Commissioners Association regional meeting, the first one of many, at Henry Horton, which is scheduled from 5:30 to 8:30. If any of you want to attend that, I'm going to have you talk to Steve, deputy to the mayor, for arrangements. And if you don't want to make that particular meeting, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 8 more meetings scheduled in September at various locations across the state. But the closest one appears to be the one at Henry Horton for us. So if you would like to attend, that is at the exact same time as our Public Works meeting on September 3rd. So you make that choice. And just let me know if you are not going to be in attendance to the Public Works meeting. Steve, do you have any more information on that you'd like to chat about on that TCCA meeting? This is an annual meeting. It's where commissioners from all over the state get together and jihad about legislation and things, and you get to talk to your counterparts and see what their problems are and the solutions and brainstorm ideas. So.
If you've never been, it's an awesome meeting. They have a good meal and then have a good meeting.
It's typically it's from 5:30 to 8:30 at Henry Horton. But I'll let Steve be the go-to point man for that if you want to go.
We'll have a group to go, but with it being the same night, either I'll be here or there, or the mayor will be here or there, whichever one.
So just know that's simultaneous. You be the judge, but my plan is to continue with the Public Works meeting at 5:30.
I'll be at your meeting.
There you go. So, all right. If you plan on going to Henry Horton, just let me know that you won't make this meeting, so I'll make sure we have a quorum. And if a lot of you go, I need to let the 2 presenters know ahead of time that we may not have a full house. So I'd appreciate you letting me know as soon as you can. All right. Anything else on the agenda? Any old business anybody want to talk about? Mayor, do you have any famous last words? All right. I think I've covered everything. Meeting adjourned.